So good day class. We will be tackling about the first half of your topics for your third exam, which is police intelligence. So just like everything else in this world, there is history that comes with it. At this portion, yung history ng intelligence. So it started even during the time of Moses, yun yung time ni Jesus. It was even included sa Book of Numbers. Yan kung saan inutusan si Moses by the Lord to send scouts or to send some people para spy out ang lugar or yung land of Canaan. So nagpadala si Moses ng mga rulers, ng mga tao from each of the tribes of Israel to seek out the land of Canaan, which ayon pa sa Biblia, yun ang sinabi ng Panginoon kay Moses na would be designated or designed as their new home. So, they spent 40 days for that mission to scout the terrain, to scout the environment, and to scout the people sa Kanaan if they are easily um, outnumbered, konti lang ba sila or marami sila, and kung ano bang pag-uugali ng mga tao na nandun na sa Kanaan. So, that was explained sa book ng Numbers, chapter 13, verse 17 to 20. So, ayan. It was discussed and enumerated na inutusan ni Moses na spy out ang land of Canaan. Yan. So, tiningnan yung environment, yung soil, yung lupa, yung mga tao na nandun na, whether they are strong or weak, konti lang ba sila or marami, or if meron ba silang shelter, if they are in tents, or is it a stronghold? Yan. So, also, inutusan din ni Moses through the spies na pinadala niya sa Kanaan na tingnan if there would be enough wood or if there will be enough food for them in Canaan. Also, nakasa din sa Biblia yung early contributions, yung roots of intelligence or information gathering simula kay Rahab, yan, or known as the Harlot of Jericho. Yan, according sa Book of Joshua, 2 verse 1 to 21, ang ginawa kasi ni Rahab is that she concealed yung mga agents or spies ng Israel kung saan ang kanyang technique or yung tactic na ginawa niya is that gagawa siya ng covenant or isang deal, makipag-deal siya sa mga agents ng Israel na kung saan tutulungan niya yung mga agents and also ang gagawin niya is gagamitin niya or iti-take advantage niya ang kanyang kagandahan, ang kanyang attractiveness sa mga taong humahabol or gustong patayin yung mga agents ng Israel na tinago niya. Also, nandun din si Delilah kung saan she's well known as the person who duped or yung nag-tame kay Samson. So Samson is a very powerful man, physically powerful, and of course he led his men to attack Philistines. Yan. So as what is dictated sa libro ng Judges, yan. So Delilah was immediately used by the Philistines to attract Samson. Yan, dahil sa kanyang kagandahan at sa kanyang pananalita, she allowed Samson to use her, yan, in order for Delilah to gain information about Samson and his men. Kung paano ba sila atake, asan ba sila nakapwesto, and how big is the force na pinamumunuan ni Samson. Yan. So also, inallow din ni Delilah na yung mga Philistines, mga spies nila, na magtago sa kanyang bahay. So of course, dahil inallow niya na gamitin siya ni Samson, she then knew the weakness of Samson. Yan, kasi physically, hindi nila ma-match or hindi nila matatalo si Sam. So, they used her to elude or to somehow know the weakness of Samson, which was his hair. So, after they had sex, ang ginawa ni Delilah habang tulog pa si Samson is pinutol niya or ginupit niya yung buhok ni Samson, which was his somehow source of strength. Yan. So, of course, dahil nagtaka si Samson, wala ang kanyang buhok. And by the time na lalaban na sila, he somehow became weak and was a result of the loss o yung pagkatalo ni Samson. Next. So, next is ito si Sun Tzu. Yan. So, Sun Tzu, yung isa sa mga known leaders, known na mga philanthropists galing China. So he wrote many books which influenced the military strategies of China against its enemies. One of those is The Art of War. Yan. So Young Art of War was one of the books na paborito ng leader ng China, the communist leader na si Mao Zedong. Yan. Because itong Art of War, hindi lang talaga siya for war, but also it is used by Chinese people for their business empires. Yan, paano sila magtayo at mag-maintain ng negosyo. So one of the sayings, or just a few of those sayings sa libro, nandito. So, the art of war does not just tackle about the tactics, the strategies during war, but how to collect information, how to take advantage of your strengths against the enemy. So, andito, nakalagay din na if you know your enemy and know yourself, yan, hindi mo na kailangang matakot sa resulta ng isang daang away o isang daang gera. Yan. If you know thy enemy and know thyself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Andito rin, if you know yourself and know and not the enemy, yan, for every victory, you suffer defeat. Kung kilala mo ang sarili mo, alam mo ang kakayahan mo, pero hindi mo alam kung sinong kinakalaban mo, for every victory, in the end, you still suffer defeat. But what is much worse is that kung hindi mo kilala ang sarili mo or ang kalaban mo, you are a fool who will meet defeat in every battle. So those are just some of the contents or sayings sa libro ni Sun Tzu. Okay, next. One of those great contributors in intelligence was Alexander the Great. He was a leader who was known for colonizing or taking over different territories in Asia. Yan. So, even though na napakagaling niyang leader, napakagaling niyang general, there were still people who weren't satisfied or ayaw sa kanya. So, even if dumarami yung mga chismis or dumadami yung mga taong ayaw sa kanyang pamumuno, he used that as a way of creating a method of knowing their uh, thinking, kung paano niya malaman yung pag-iisip ng kanyang mga tauhan at ng mga kalaban niya. So, he used the first uh, letter sorting. Yan. So, ang letter sorting, for example, sasabihin ng kanyang pamunuan na may mangyayaring gera or there will be an incoming battle. So, before sila sasabak sa gera, magsusulat muna ang mga sundalo ng mga letters papunta sa kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. So, they would write it before the actual war. So, yan, meron ng letter. Ipapadala na sa kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. But the thing is, it would not be directed to their families immediately. Kasi ang gagawin niya, isusort ni Alexander the Great or titingnan niya kung sino ba sa kanyang mga sundalo or kanyang matauhan ang nag-expose sa strategies at posisyon ng kanyang kasundaluhan. In order to prevent the exposure of their strategies and to also know sino sa kanyang mga sundalo ang may disaffection or may ayaw sa kanya. Okay? So, next, one of those key contributors in intelligence, si General Romano Sertorius, the Roman commander in Spain who possessed a white fawn. Yan. So, ano yang fawn? A fawn is an animal that is similar. A fawn is an animal that is similar to a young deer. Yan. So, parang maliit na deer. He used that fawn as actually a source of supernatural power. Yan, kasi sinasabi na yung white fawn na yun, yung puting maliit na deer, is known to have a supernatural power which he can share secrets and would know secrets of everyone kasi animal siya. Yan. So he obtained secrets from his enemies and from his own personnel and also used that phone as a source of guidance sa kung anong strategiya ang gagawin nila during a battle. He also used other animals like doves to be a source of information. Next, si Akbar. So Akbar is originally a Pakistani or Middle or Central Asian leader who is known to be a sagacious and great Mughal. Yeah, the great Mughal. The sagacious leader of the Hindustan origin or yung sa present day na Pakistan. So what he did was that he used more than 4,000 agents or those intelligence gatherers for the sole purpose of telling him the truth. Kasi ito siya, he's very scared or ayaw niya na merong papalit sa kanya. He wants to be the leader of their tribe, of their nation, hanggang buhay pa siya. So, he used those agents to know sino ba ang may planong pabagsakin siya, which at some point it was successful. Of course, sino bang hindi nakakakilala kay Genghis Khan? He is originating from the present-day Mongolia, which of course, ang mga tao niyan is called Mongols. So, he was a known leader, a military person or military man who used his unique thinking in order to conquer China and invade Cathay. So, yung kanyang mga tactics that he employed aside from threats, aside from creating information, is that he used to send out spies, yung mga espiya niya, at mga prisoners o mga nakakulong to be the source of his information sa China para ma-conquer nila ang China. Yan. And of course, soon after ma-conquer ang Cathay. So, he also was the leader of the so-called group na conquerors or those Mongolians who would conquer countries after countries. So, ang ginagawa ng conquerors para manalo sa gera, they would use propagandas or yung mga chismis, mga gossips by spreading rumors of Mongol terror. Sabihin natin, magpapadala siya ng mga espiya na magpapanggap ng mga merchants and ang gagawin nila is magpapakalat sila ng chismis na aatakihin ang China or isang part ng China ng mga conquerors or yung mga Mongols. But the thing is, once they spread it to one territory, yung actual na pagsakop or pag-conquer is on the other side of China's territory. In order to divert the attention and to instill fear sa mga gustong kumalaban. So, those conquerors were collecting information from the weaknesses ng rivals because of course, takot na sila. And of course, dahil naka-disguise ang kanyang mga spies as merchants, hindi mag-akala yung mga kalaban na harmful sila. Next is, of course, one of the greatest generals sa ating kasaysayan, si Napoleon Bonaparte. So, he had this saying, because he was a great leader, the French emperor, one of the most known generals of all time, one of the most brilliant generals of all time, even though na maliit siya, he has this brilliant mind. He said that one spy in the right place is worth 20,000 men in the field. So ganun ang kanyang kaalaman sa pamumuno ng isang army, pamumuno ng isang bansa, and also he used it efficiently. Hindi tulad ng mga taktika noon na atake lang ang mga armies to conquer another territory. Sa kanya, inuuna niya yung mga spies na titingin sa kakayahan ng kalaban at titingin sa environment kung asan mangyayari yung laban or yung gera. So he organized two bureaus with the purpose of collecting and gathering information. First is the Bureau of Intelligence, which consolidates all incoming information regarding the enemy for presentation to him as the emperor and to obtain information that is desired for the French nation. Next is yung Topographic Bureau. Yan, Topographic Bureau. From the word topography, it focuses on the whole environment kasi meron silang mga mapa na kung saan yung latest information, latest topography, or latest na mga characteristics ng lugar, meron sila in order to determine which would be an advantage para sa mga French or sa friendly forces ng France at kung ano bang mga lugar kung saan nakatago ang mga puwersa ng kalaban nila or ano bang mga lugar ang pwede nilang gawing advantage or vantage point. Next, si Frederick the Great. So, pakita ko muna ang itsura niya. Yan. So, ayan si Frederick the Great. He was known as the father of organized military espionage. Ito siya. So, his contribution in intelligence or information gathering is the classification of four agents. Yan. So, may four classes ang agents. So, first is common spies. Yan. So, tong common spies, yan yung mga common na mga espiya na recruited galing sa mga normal or yung sa mga poor families and their motivation is that merong earnings, may sweldo or they have a chance to become military officers. So, yan yung mga common spies from the common people. Next is double spies. So, double spies work for both sides. Yan, kung saan, for example, agent sila, officials sila ng France, and they would collect information from the enemy. At the same time, magko-collect din sila ng information sa France na ibibigay nila sa enemy. So, they are considered generally unreliable and are known to be spreading false information to their enemies. Yan. Kasi kung nagkaroon na sila ng or nakuha na nila ang tiwala ng kalaban, yan of course, they could spread false rumors, false information sa kalaban ng kanilang bansa in order to let their country have an advantage or a step ahead against the enemy. Next is spies of consequences. These are couriers, mga noblemen, yan, yung mga nasa higher society, mga staff officers, mga conspirators, which hindi sila magbibigay ng information or mga impormasyon kung walang bribe or walang kapalit. Yan. So, they need or they will give information. Of course, ang consequence is that kailangan magbigay ng kapalit yung nangangailangan ng information. And the last class is those people who are forced to undertake espionage against his or her will. Yung mga taong pinwersa na maging espiya na labag sa kanilang kagustuhan. So, these are the four classes in which Frederick the Great, known as the father of organized military espionage, has derived or created. Yan, para maklasify sila ng maayos. The next contributor sa information gathering, si Hannibal. One of the most brilliant kasi, even though he is the general and the leader of his country, yan, the leader of even though he is the leader of Rome, yan, he still would pretend or be in disguise as a beggar or parang pulubin na umiikot sa city of Rome. And he used that effectively for 15 years. Kasi ang gusto niya makuha is information directly to those people na nakakuha niyon. Yan, which those information are important in winning wars and battles para sa Rome against sa kanilang kalaban. But unfortunately, itong si Hannibal, si General Hannibal was assassinated. Yan. So yun, yan ang kanyang contribution. Nagpanggap siyang pulubi in order to collect first-hand information against their enemies. Of course, ito yung isa sa mga pinakasikat, si Julius Caesar. Yan. So during his leadership as the general and the leader of the Roman Empire, itong si Julius Caesar created 10 or has um, appointed 10 speculators who would serve as those people who would collect and inform him of the positions and the strategies ng kalaban nila. Yan, in order to prevent the Roman Empire to fall down. So itong 10 speculators o yung 10-man information collecting agency niya was somehow, according to historians, the first intelligence unit, especially sa Italy. Yan. So, itong mga speculators under his command, yan, they use carrier pigeons. Of course, those pigeons who has faster travel time and of course amazing speed kung saan pwede nila ma-relay or ma-transport ang mga information from Julius Caesar to the people who would need those information. Usually, mga units na nasa field or yung mga sundalo na nasa field. And also, they used ciphers, yan, or yung mga code messages to make sure na yung kanilang communication is secret or ma-maintain yung secrecy ng kanilang information. Next, si George Washington. He is the first president of the United States, kauna-unahang presidente, and originally, he's a general who fought for America's independence against Great Britain. So, nung nagkaroon ng independence ang Amerika, nung 1776, itong si General George Washington was then inaugurated as the first president of the United States. Yan. So he was a brilliant strategist. He was a conspirator even though meron siyang mga oaths or promises towards sa mga kalaban niya. But still George Washington was known not just for his politics but also as the Grand Master who used Freemasons, yung mga taong member ng Masonry sa kanilang mga colonies to start the Civil War and to push for American independence. Yan. Next is si Karl Schulmeister. So si Karl Schulmeister is Napoleon Bonaparte's right-hand man o yung kanyang uh, number one assistant. That's why he's called Napoleon's eye, not only because he is brilliant in collecting information, but of course, he knew how to act especially during wartime. Yan. So, his career started in offensive espionage kung saan mag-espiya sila sa kalaban. But then, as his time in the military grew, he used his knowledge and created a cover story. Yan. Kung saan, yung cover story niya na isa siyang nobleman, he could use it against kalaban ng France, which is the modern day Austria, and conduct an undercover mission, which is kailangan niya makapenetrate sa general staff o yung staff ng mga military leaders sa kalabang bansa nila, which is Austria. So ayun, he became an undercover spy. Next up ay si Alfred Riedel. So, si Alfred Riedel is a military general, a military officer na hepe ng Austro-Hungarian Secret Service or yung intelligence unit ng kanilang military. But the thing with Alfred Riedel is that he is also a double agent na nagsisilbi para sa kalabang bansa, which is Russia. And how would he become a double agent? He would seduce other generals because he is a homosexual. Yan, mahilig din siya sa lalaki, kahit lalaki siya. So he used that homosexuality and his knowledge to do treason or magtaksil sa bansa niya, yung modern day Austria. Nagtaksil siya sa kanyang bansa at naging double agent ng kalabang Russia, in which yung kanyang mga operations as a double agent led to 500,000 agent deaths or mga soldier deaths, kung saan napakaraming mga spies ang namatay o pinatay dahil sa kanyang kagagawan. Yan. So he did that for 13 years, but it ended nung 1913, kung saan nalaman yung kanyang pagtataksil sa Austro-Hungarian nation. And then by the time na nalaman ng kanyang mga seniors sa military, he was forced to commit suicide. So yun, napugos jud siya magpakamatay. Next up, si Wilhelm Edward Stieber. So si Wilhelm Edward Stieber or si Wilhelm Johann Karl Edward Stieber was the number one assistant or yung kanang kamay ng isang military leader who was also known si Otto von Bismarck. Yan. So si Otto von Bismarck has Wilhelm Stieber as his master spy. Yan, kung saan siya ang namuno ng director of the bureaus na pinamumunuan subsequently sa hierarchy ni Otto von Bismarck, kung saan ang kanyang contribution sa intelligence or sa information gathering, yung mga modern techniques such as the use of surveillance. Yan. So yung surveillance na alam nyo, yan yung feeling o yung pagsunod sa target. Yan, pagsunod-sunod sa target. So, due to his intelligence o yung kanyang angking galing, he became both a domestic surveillance agent and is also used as an external spy o yung nag-espiya sa kalapang bansa. His contributions together with Joseph Fauch was one of those predecessors sa mga modern techniques na ginagawa ng mga intelligence agents. So yan si Wilhelm Carl Edward Stieber. Yung isa sa mga kasama niya si Joseph Fausch. He is the Minister of Police o yung hepe ng kapulisan ng France during the time ni Napoleon Bonaparte. So ang emperor nila si Napoleon, siya yung kumbaga PNP chief nila. So during his time, he knew that Napoleon Bonaparte's rule was somehow going down even though na siya yung head ng police and also the head of internal security. So he knew na kailangang ibalik na yung totoong hari, which is si Louis the 18th, which subsequently naging hari ulit noong 1815 at napabagsak yung Napoleonic Empire. So his modern techniques at that time is now known as counter-espionage. Counter-espionage or spying on spies. Yan. So espionage is spying, yan, getting information from the enemy, while counter-espionage is getting information from those agents or spies who are getting information. Yan, yung kumakalaban sa kapwa espiya. So, yan si Joseph Fausch. So, let's move forward around the 20th century sa United States. So, sa United States, one of those known fathers of American intelligence or yung father of American intelligence, former Army Major General Billy Donovan. Yan. So si Billy Donovan started in the Army, United States Army, and by the time na tumaas ng kanyang posisyon sa government, he was then ordered by the president to organize an organization, an office which would be having its main duty of collecting information which is useful not just for the president but also useful for the United States military. Yan yung OSS or the Office of Strategic Services. Yung OSS was the predecessor or yan yung nauna na pangalan ng CIA. So ang CIA was formally redesignated or formally created noong 1947 together with the National Defense Act ng United States. To William Donovan, during World War II, he is known for collecting information which is important in defeating Germans noong World War II sa Europe. So, by the techniques he learned from Julius Caesar, from Napoleon, from Wilhelm Stieber, natalo ng United States Army ang German forces at French forces nung World War II. Yan. So to the point na pati yung mga airborne soldiers ng United States na penetrate ang bahay ni Adolf Hitler. Okay? So let's talk about CIA, which previously is known as OSS before 1947. So CIA or the Central Intelligence Agency was created by the National Security Act or yung National Defense Act of 1947, which was signed by President Harry Truman. So ang CIA is responsible for military and national intelligence ng Estados Unidos. Yan. So sila yung nagbibigay ng critical information and timely information to military leadership and to the executive or yung presidential leadership ng Amerika. So, the first director of intelligence ng CIA was Rear Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter ng United States Navy. Si Billy Donovan ang first administrator, first director ng USS, while si Roscoe Hillenkoetter was one of his men or subordinates niya sa military na naging unang director of intelligence ng CIA. So, ayan yung logo ng CIA. They have agents. They also have that armed capability in order to conduct espionage against the enemies and even friends ng United States. So, the headquarters of the CIA is located just downrange ng Washington, D.C. sa Langley, Virginia. Yan yung main lobby nila. So, CIA agents are not just those na may suits, hindi lang sila naka-suit or naka-formal attire, but CIA agents were the first people, first Americans na nakapenetrate or nakapasok sa Afghanistan after September 11 attacks noong 2001. So, yan sila ang nauna. Yan. So, next individual, I see J. Edgar Hoover or si John Edgar Hoover. Yan. So, si John Edgar Hoover ang first director ng FBI. So, ayan, ang kanyang pangalan, John Edgar Hoover. Ayan. He is the first director of the FBI ng United States or the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Anong trabaho ng Federal Bureau of Investigation? That is domestic intelligence, and also one of their jobs is supervision of all police forces sa United States. Yan. So sila yung parang national police. Of course, sa United States may state police, may county police at may city police forces. But of course, ang FBI meron yan silang mga station offices in every state. Yan. So sila yung national police ng United States. Yan. So si J. Edgar Hoover, yan. Yan siya, their first director. So dahil sa kanyang contributions, pinangalanan sa kanya ang headquarters ng FBI sa Quantico, Virginia or sa Washington. Yan yung J. Edgar Hoover Building. So, yan ang itsura ng mga FBI agents. Lahat from terrorism to homicide to criminal investigation to technical investigation. Yan ang ginagawa nila. So, hindi lang yan ang itsura nila. Meron din ito. Yan. Yung hostage rescue team nila. So, it's a paramilitary unit. But still, lahat yan sila mga police officers. So, yung headquarters nila, yan. Yung J. Edgar Hoover Building. So, all FBI agents are police officers or experienced police officers with those capabilities, not just in firearms. They're also physically and mentally capable. and they're also very smart and subsequently very much compensated ng government. So sa United States, it was classified by Major General Major General Billy Donovan, yan, na kailangan ma-classify ang intelligence organization ng United States. So they created the three branches, which is the positive branch, the negative branch, and yung geographical or yung topographical branch of intelligence. So the positive branch is having the collection and evaluation pati pag sa spread ng intelligence information to those people who needed it the most. For example, yung mga military units in the field or yung president. Yan. So ito yung mga dito yung mga pagko-collect yung mga agents. Sa negative branch, meron ding mga agents pero it is basically dito sa negative branch yung counterintelligence function. Yan. Which involves investigating if meron bang mga disloyal members sa military or sa police. Meron bang nagpaplano ng pagpapabagsak sa current administration within the military, yung magkukudeta. And of course, to investigate enemy activities, especially yung mga nag-espiya sa kanilang bansa, sa United States, and those government officials who are involved in graft, fraud, and corruption. While sa geographical branch, this is basically the intelligence organization which produces maps, provides photographs, and terrain studies in order to know the terrain ng kanilang mga kalaban or kanilang mga allies, which is useful during military operations. So we have discussed about the history and the information from other countries. Let's now discuss what is intelligence. So intelligence is the end product resulting from the collection, evaluation, analysis, integration, and the interpretation of all available information which is useful to policy makers. Yan. So, ang policy makers, ang pinaka-primary niyan, si President o yung Chief of State. Yan. So, intelligence, do not be confused with it. Intelligence is processed information. Kung raw information yung galing directly sa tao or galing sa sources, it is information. Yung mga sinasabi nila, yung pinipresent sa kanila. That is information. While information that was collected, evaluated, analyzed, and integrated and was interpreted, it becomes intelligence. So, yung sinabi kanina na intelligence information, yan, yung sinabi kaninang intelligence information is a wrong notion. Kasi yung information hindi yan na-processed, while intelligence is processed. So of course, the end result is the processed one. So it's better to call it intelligence. So there are other definitions ng intelligence. Yan. According to Wikipedia, intelligence is the information that has been collected, integrated, evaluated, analyzed, and interpreted. Of course, it is the end product of information. Yan. So, information is raw data from any source. Yan. So, ulitin ko, intelligence is the end product of information. Information kasi is raw data from any source. Pwede bit by bit ang information, pwede unreliable, reliable, mali ang information, hindi klaro or ambiguous ang information, or mapanlin lang or deceptive ang information na makokolek. So once it is evaluated, analyzed, and interpreted, it becomes intelligence which is useful to one nation. Of course, finished intelligence, the final product of the intelligence cycle. Kasi ang intelligence cycle can be used and reused. It's a cycle. So it is the final product and is ready to be delivered to policymakers, especially the highest ranking person in the government, yung head of state or yung president or yung prime minister. So that is in general intelligence. When we say police intelligence, this is intelligence used by the police in execution of their plans, policies, programs, and yung mandate nila which is to combat and suppress crimes. So also, it is the end product resulting from the collection, evaluation, analysis, integration, and interpretation of all available information which concerns one or more aspects of criminal activity, which is critical para sa police planning and police operations. So again, yung sinabi ko kanina, intelligence information is a wrong notion, a wrong term. Intelligence is processed information, 'di ba? And product ang intelligence. Okay? So that sums up for the discussion today. The next meeting or the next discussion would tackle about the functions of intelligence. So ipakita ko sa inyo, yan. So we will be discussing that next time. Okay, so once again, thank you. By the time you have seen this, it has already been posted or meron ng link sa LMS. So standby lang kayo for the next part of this discussion. Okay, once again, thank you and good day.